What became so popular at your school that the teachers had to ban it? There was a game called Get Down Mr. President where everyone in an area would put their fingers to their ears like the Secret Service and the last person to do it would be tackled. It could start at any moment and would end up in a dog pile in the hall. I'm not gonna lie, I'm in my 30s and now that I know that's a thing, I'm starting that crap at work tomorrow. Gel pens. When I was in primary school there was this weird trend where all the girls would suck on the ends of gel pens so their tongues turned into different colors. They would trade pens with each other in the school bathrooms and sneak away from the teachers and go to hidden parts of the schoolyard so they didn't get caught. It was the closest I can think of comparing to a drug ring, but imagine it with 7-year-old girls. One of my friends was really popular because she was the girl who sucked on the most pens and would get caught in literally every class sucking on a different gel pen. And the teachers would always have to walk her out to the nurse as she'd make herself sick and throw up. They eventually banned them. I tried it once and spat it out immediately because it was nasty and tasted like ink. Duh. I didn't get it then and I still don't get it now. The girl who sucked on the most pens and would get caught in literally every class sucking on a different gel pen. Same but not with gel pens. I'm a teacher. A few years ago we had to ban applause. The kids would randomly start a round of applause and just keep going. It was unnerving. It was disrupting lessons, assemblies. Sometimes they would applause in the dining hall or corridors. Still don't know how this trend started or why. The other thing we had to ban was pilgrimage. They apparently learned the word in religious studies lesson. After that they would, in large groups, walk from one end of the school to the other chanting pilgrimage and basically knocking over anything or person that stood in their way. I don't know why but I laughed for a good solid minute while reading this. In elementary school my class was divided in two groups, penguins and rats. We would always go to our group for team assignments, for games, for anything really. Somehow an actual rivalry started to sprout until the whole school was divided in these two groups, with first and second years getting into actual fights and stuff. Pretty soon the principal cancelled recess for a day and went to each classroom to tell us penguin team and rat team were banned. Others did create some smaller animal named groups after that, but they all dissolved pretty quickly. Your elementary schools literally created gangs, LMAO. In Sweden we had this thing called bug, translate to gay pile. As soon as someone was on the ground lying, everyone threw themselves on making a pile of PPL. Acorns. My elementary schoolyard had several oak trees on it and dumbass kids would collect acorns and keep them in their desk. The problem was most of the acorns had worms in them which then escaped into the classrooms. They're weevils, not worms. Camo colors. They somehow banned it school-wide because they were gang colors. Camo gang. I was in middle school from 2009 to 2011. Bloons Tower Defense was huge. Everyone played it in any room that had a computer. The school had to install special blockers but people kept getting around them so they straight up banned Adobe Flash. When I was younger, we played this where you'd draw a circle on your hand, and other people would try to draw a line inside of it. If someone was able to draw a line in your circle, then you were out. The objective of the game was to be the last one standing. It was small at first, but eventually almost everyone in my grade became involved, and it spiraled out of control. Chaos. Pure freaking chaos. Kids were tackling each other, running away from other students, disrupting lessons, etc. Teachers eventually began to talk to us about how far our game had gone, and started banning it altogether. It was fun while it lasted, boys. Rulers. Year 10 and HS, for whatever reason someone decided to smack a guy across the head with a ruler. Then everyone went out and bought a ruler. Suddenly everyone was a knight with a sword. Staff kept confiscating them, but rulers are cheap so kids just went out and bought them by the handful. They ended up banning rulers at a school. The kids who were taking geometry that year and needed them had to be assigned rulers at the beginning of class and then turn them back in. If you rub the metal edge of a ruler against the sole of your shoe really fast back and forth, it gets hot enough to seriously burn someone and leave a scar. Hair flips. Circa 2003, long skater hair was very trendy. Said kids were flipping their hair out of their eyes face. An 8th grade history teacher went on a vendetta under the reasoning that hair flips pollute the air with hair dirt. Kids started getting detentions. That's a really stupid pretense, but I can understand why the teachers got annoyed with a room full of kids flipping their hair like they have Tourette's syndrome. My teachers in high school just mercilessly mocked the hair flippers until they knocked it off. People bringing in their Game Boy Color and playing during recess. Kids were getting mad they weren't getting turns and they were afraid of someone stealing games. Freaking Jeremy found a copy of Pokemon Silver the day after mine was stolen out of my backpack. Can't get too mad at the kid though. His brother was thrown in jail for murdering their mom about a year after that. Rubber bands. Kids weren't even using them to shoot at other kids or otherwise misbehave with them. Kids would buy packs of rubber bands, tie the rubber bands together, making like a big rubber band chain. It became a contest to see who could get a chain of rubber bands to stretch the farthest. You couldn't find a pack of rubber bands at a store for probably 20 miles. This was when I lived in a small town, so there wasn't a ton of stores in that 20 miles. Amazon or even public internet access didn't exist yet. One kid got so many rubber bands, they could stretch it the length of the school building. While stupid, I didn't think it was a bad hobby as kids weren't shooting them or shooting stuff with them. It was all about how big of a chain they could make. School rewarded our pointless creativity with a ban on rubber bands at the school. All rubber band chains were confiscated on site. Sounds like the perfect build-up for a senior prank. Rubber band chains blocking all the doors and hallways. Almost like webs crossing the halls between the lockers. I was in high school when cell phones finally became accessible enough for most people to have one. It took about a week of senior year for them to declare that no phones were allowed anywhere on school property. Same for my class. But now kids literally have theirs out at their desks using them and the teachers are compliant. Putting condoms on everything. Pens, people's heads, arms, bags, shoes, smart board remotes, baseball bats, clocks, balls. Literally anything. The best bit was that the school gave out free condoms. They were fueling the opposition. After a week, there was a ban on condoms being out in public. Anyone seen with a condom that wasn't in their bag or blazer was immediately given a detention. In my college there was someone brought in to hand out condoms to people. Over the next few days Tide condoms filled with water kept appearing across a few of the bathrooms. In 3rd grade, a few kids got obsessed with the words cheese, FedEx, and camel. They said them all the time and those words got banned for the entire class. Very similar to something in my primary, there was a week that everyone started saying the catchphrase from adverts and everyone had different ones. There were arguments about who would say what phrase. Our school banned hoodies. Their reasoning was that people can wear their hoods up to help with intimidating. A lot of the guys responded by wearing hoodies the next day, with no shirts underneath so they couldn't be told to take them off. When I was in elementary school in the late 90s there was a fad where we would collect Absolute vodka and milk mustache ads in binders, similar to Pokemon cards. It was savage. Kids would bring in magazines by the dozens and just strip out the pages with the ads on it. School banned them because it was such a massive distraction. There was a kid in my high school who made probably around $500 in a month for making duct tape wallets. Administration found out but didn't ban the wallets, just banned conducting business on school grounds. Someone went around school and sold his origami at 50p a piece. He'd get orders every day and then make them at home. Clackers. They were too small, hard balls on either end of a long string. You made them clack against each other, but the bullies would hit you upside the head with them instead. I'm old. You didn't need a bully, because you were perfectly capable of hitting yourself in the head. We are only allowed to have €2 money for bus. If a teacher that even cares caught you, the teacher would be allowed to take the money and keep it. This was changed due to making it a crime. One time a teacher took €75 from a student. Luckily she was forced to give it back. The kid that started a tuck shop out of his locker, went to a wholesaler's, bought some stuff, sold it, used the profits to buy more, repeat and repeat until he's now staffing a child guard to stop shoplifting, and renting other people's lockers for stock overflow. Our classroom just became kids queuing to buy sweets and energy drinks. Sometimes a line so long in 15 minutes he couldn't get everyone waiting served. Then, bam, banned. No selling anything on school property. Pretty much just aimed at this kid. Dude ended up stabbing someone. Got expelled. No idea where he is now, but think his shop getting banned and being replaced with an overpriced healthy star-front tuck shop squashed his entrepreneurial spirit. This is the most welcome to the real world life story on here. Young up and comer has great idea. Big company comes in, steals the idea and profits from it. That's unfortunate. I sold blow pops for $0.25 a piece. Everyone in the school was eating them and chewing gum. That was the end. I made good money. Switch to blow jobs and you would be tripling your profits. Warheads. It grew to such an issue with these sour candies. Kids were organizing a black market where the kids with the highest allowance would buy them in bulk from the corner stores for a nickel each, distribute them to upperclassmen for $0.25 each, who would turn around and sell them to the final consumer for 50 cents each candy. There was even a barrier to entry if you wanted in the business. You would have to eat 3 candies at once and not spit it out or throw up. Warheads are the real gateway into drug dealing. YUGO. Used to be everyone would show up an hour before school started and we'd play until first bell. Then some little crap named Tyler decided to wager one of his cards and he lost. He ran to his mommy crying about it and then no more YUGO. Frick you Tyler. Don't bet something you aren't willing to lose. Me and my buddies had a game where we'd draw a circle on the back of our hand. One person in the beginning of the day would have a marker and be infected while trying to get a mark on another friend's circle, rendering them infected as well. This would go until there were no more survivors that day or until the infected lost and all that. Well, it eventually spread to everyone in our school in a matter of 2 days somehow. When I mean everyone, I literally mean everyone. I remember an announcement at lunchtime saying that if you had a circle on your hand you had to go wash it off in the bathroom or get a detention. Yeah, all 300 kids in that lunchroom went to the restroom and washed it off. Crap was whack. We played a similar game, Assassins, except we did it with water pistols. No one knew who was playing. You just got a name in your locker one day by the person who was curating the game. Lots of fun though. Rock, paper, scissors. People at my middle school kept playing a game called Oreo, where you play rock, paper, scissors and the loser has to do a dare. According to the teachers, it got out of hand. It really didn't, none of the dares were that bad. So they decided to ban rock, paper, scissors. Hearing that on the announcements in the morning instantaneously killed half of my brain cells. If you were caught playing rock, paper, scissors, you would immediately get detention. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. For some reason my grade got really into chanting random words teachers said. We thought it was hilarious at the time. Anyways, so in the midst of this fad, one day in grade 12 pre-cal, my teacher finally puts her foot down, yelling, "No more chanting," and one kid in my class stands up and yells chanting. Chanting and everyone joined in. One of the highlights of high school. Those rubber bracelets that denoted different causes that were popular in the early to mid 2000s. We ended up setting up a little black market for them with people trading in different ones and having their arms covered to the elbows in them. I heard that if she wears a insert color one she's into sexual thing. Playing blackjack for Nicholas in the lunchroom. High school, those of us dealing were cleaning up. Then later in the school year we just started again and the teachers kind of ignored it. I was making several dollars, maybe 10 on a good day. This was early 70s, so $1 equals about $6 today. Gas was $0.35 a gallon. Ciggies maybe 50 cents a pack. Holy crap, just keep failing in school so you don't graduate and you got yourself a full-time job. Rubber bracelets here in Brazil. It became popular out of nowhere and everybody was wearing them. People even competed to see who had more bands on their arms, lol. Until one day, some magazines showed that those bracelets were used in other countries like a sex challenge. Each color had a meaning and if someone breaks your band, you had to do to that person what the color means. Like pink was French kiss, purple was a handy, something like that. The schools and the parents got crazy and got rid of all those bracelets until they finally disappeared forever. Actually, there wasn't a single person who used those bracelets for that reason, lol. They were just cool and pretty cheap. We believe now that it was a huge hoax, but it was such a long time ago that it got forgotten and nobody cared to see if it was true or not. When I was a kid, our church band Pogs called it a form of gambling. All the parents decided to just get rid of their pogs. My dad was cool with pog and he even machined a solid brass slammer for me. He talked with the parents but couldn't change their mind on pog as it was the senior pastor who called for the ban. Long story short, all the church kids gave me their pogs and I was now pog king at school. Pog champ. Bloody knuckles with quarters. As an adult looking back, I'm kind of surprised I made it out of middle school intact. Yikes, what were we thinking? 2 years ago, my principal banned slime. I'm a teacher. I was stockpiling all my confiscated slime to create the ultimate teacher slime video, but then the principal updated the rule and said that all slime was to be thrown away on site. So I threw it away. The stuff is oddly satisfying, and I get why the kids loved it so much. It's also not that helpful during class. At the risk of stating the obvious, take pictures next time you get an unsatisfactory grade. Hacky Sacks BC of Killer Hack, where you had to successfully get a certain number of consecutive kicks hits and then anyone could catch it and whip it at someone. Yep. I come from one of those all-girl private schools that disallowed anything remotely fun, non-academic, harmful or non-beneficial to that is, the students and or the school's future. No slap bracelets, no rubber sticky animal toys, no phones in use without a teacher's permission, no outside of the box foods at the cafeteria and so on. Anyway, one day, a girl in my year group, known to be rebellious and untamed by the teachers, sweet and fun girl that took none of the school's nonsense, decided that we should rally together and develop a way to rebel in a way that was both noticeable by teachers and not harmful to our futures. We could be suspended or expelled, and that we should do it on an important day. Luckily, important guests visited our school often and the next visit was the following week. It happened to be the founder of the school. We read through the rule book for any loopholes we could have exploited. That's when I noticed that the student handbook that the wardens, teachers, treated like a bible for uniform etiquette, said nothing of where a student was to wear their ties. Our uniforms consisted of a blouse, a navy blue skirt and a tie along with the school badge and whatever pins that aligned itself with school activities, such as house badges, student council badges, etc. The girl decided we would use this rule to host a revolution that wouldn't stop until, at least, some of the unreasonable restrictions were lifted. So on school's founders visiting day, at least 90% of the student body started wearing their ties in ridiculous places. Like some tied it around their waist, some tied them around their heads, some tied it around their arm, some of them used them as hair ties. The list goes on. Needless to say, it made the teachers furious and embarrassed. However, the founder found the entire situation very funny, appreciated our respect for the school and praised us for our united front. The red and gold rebellion was successful in more ways than one. The ties were red, gold and black. Not only did we get our restrictions lifted, but we also became closer to the founder and was given access to speak to him if more trouble arose. The teachers grew to appreciate the many more aspects of life and the entire student body became more like a family. Anyway, after that, they refined their student handbook and specified where to wear your ties and more. They really disallowed rebellion through uniform loopholes after that, which I found hilarious. TLDR. Student body had enough with the heavy rules and restrictions, used a loophole through uniforms rules to revolt and got any uniform loophole exploitation banned. The numbers 212, 313, and 525. Couldn't wear them or talk about them. There's a Mexican gang that uses the number 13 and after the teachers found out about it, they banned wearing the number. Most of us thought it was stupid and a group of kids made a gang called 313 just for the heck of it. Another group created 212 to be rivals. It was all jokes but apparently people were repping too hard so they banned both numbers. To retaliate, the two groups then joined forces and created 525, 313 plus 212, which the teachers didn't like very much. Depending on what phone you had, you could download an app that makes your phone a universal remote. You could control a lot of things including projectors. All you had to do was select the brand of the projector and it would work 9/10 times. Anyways, me and some friends kept turning off the projector during class or freezing the screen and they were absolutely clueless. Multiple other teachers came in to try and fix the projector, but eventually they caught on banned cell phones in the classroom. You ruined it for everyone. Fried chicken. For some reason it became ridiculously popular lunch in cafeteria, and for some reason the school administration decided to ban it. The whole event happened a few months before I joined the school, so I never know the full story, but apparently, the chicken ban triggered a series of student protest of multiple scale, and the ban was lifted a few months later. My first semester start after the dust has settled, but you can still see a lot of sign and vandalism. There is a "We want fried chicken" sign outside administration building that end up becoming a meme from the protest. Does anybody remember silly bands? Back when I was in grade school, you were only cool if you had hundreds on each of your wrists. Soon, however, we would learn how to put the rubber band on the tip of your finger, pull it around your thumb, and hold it with your pinky. When you release your pinky, you would effectively have shot someone. It was basically finger guns evolved. After fights over silly bands and rubber shootouts that usually ended in injured eyes, a school-wide ban was placed on our beloved fun-shaped elastic. Tragic times for the schoolyard, it was. In middle school we all started doing the suck it from WCW and WO. See your buddy in the hall, arms crossed over crotch, and suck it. Walk by a door to a classroom and see your buddy. Suck it. Lunch line suck it battles. It was an epidemic. Ahem. Suck it was a DX thing. DX was a WWF group, not WCW. Happy powder, dry Kool-aid powder mixed with sugar. Lick your finger and stick it in the bag to eat it. Kids were selling bags of it before the ban. In the school's defense, that sounds a lot like a drug cartel. Water bottles during our state exams. We poked holes on the end of the caps and used them as water guns during our lunch, and afterwards if we had time to spare. Touch the pole of the basketball net. I'm Austrian, so I'll stick to age instead of what grade school I was in, for minimum confusion. We were 9 and for some reason I really can't remember, you were the coolest people if you and your friends got to hang out around the basketball net pole. For some even weirder reason only one of the poles in our school's courtyard was cool. My entire year literally fought to be first at the pole, and whoever touched it first at break time got to claim it. It got so intense that the teachers introduced the rule that whoever touched the pole had to write the word pole 1,000 times. This introduced a new game, which was who dares to touch the pole when the teachers look away. I had a friend who even pro-wrote the word pole 1,000 times when she was bored for backup in case they caught her. Kind off topic, but we like to play rugby on concrete. School banned it, so we made a new game called Football. Basically rugby, but you could only score with your legs or head. And Jat was totally fine. There was a code word my friends and I used called Manchester. Basically if you said you'd do something, whether it be sarcastic or not, and someone said Manchester, you had to do it. It came to the point where most of the school caught onto it and fights began to break out multiple times a week, so they banned the word LOL. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.